Today we're going to show you how to make a fire extinguisher that opens up to hold a bottle of whiskey. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do, make sure you get your fire extinguisher cleaned off. You want to make sure that your fire extinguisher is empty. The first thing that I did was cut off this hose holder. Then you're going to grab a marker and you're going to want to draw out where you're going to cut. The lines that I drew were roughly 13.5 inches by 5.5 inches. You want to make sure that you leave at least an inch from the top and bottom. Before you start cutting is actually take off the top. As long as this is empty and not pressurized, it should just twist off. Sometimes you might need to give it a little kick. This is the third one that I'm making, and all three of them just came off for me. And this just pulls out. Ear protection, eye protection. Now that we got our four sides cut out, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the corners with the drum. Once you have your fire extinguisher door cut out, it'll break any leftover steel and then it'll open right up. Once you get this all cut out and you remove the faceplate, you're going to want to clean up any powder that's in there. You're going to notice that there are a ton of metal burrs. We want to grab our metal grinder and actually grind down the edges. Don't worry about taking off too much metal on either the base or the door. Because remember, we're going to put rubber edging on both sides. The biggest problems once you start actually putting the rubber on are going to be the bottom and top as well as the edges. Make sure that you take off a little bit extra. This side doesn't matter too much, but the bottom and top, that rubber edging is going to have to fit. The other thing I wanted to point out is the bottom of mine, I only have about 1/8 of an inch between the base and the bottom of this. Once I put in my plexiglass, you're gonna find that you can't grind down the bottom of this because that rubber edging is still gonna have to fit over this. Next, you're gonna wanna cut out your rubber edging and go ahead and put it on both the door and the fire extinguisher. Once you've got the rubber edging on both the door and the base, try to match it up so you can see what areas you need to trim down. I'm gonna go ahead, get my grinder, I'm gonna grind this down and see if I can make this fit. Start by measuring out the holes for your hinges. If you made the height of your door 13.5 inches, then to cut it into thirds, you go 4.5 and 9 inches. You got your hinges on, you're going to want to go ahead and start putting your trim back on. Once you've got your trim back around this piece, go ahead and take your trim off the base. Cut out the middle piece that's going to fit onto here. You're going to want to make sure you put the trim back around the whole thing before you mark your holes, because the trim is going to lift up the door a little bit and change where your holes are going to be. hinges on. You want to make sure that your door opens and closes the way that it's supposed to. It doesn't catch anywhere. If it does, grind it down now. Take off your edge trim again. Go ahead and make your mark for your whatever kind of latch locking mechanism you're going to do. Once you get your latches on, go ahead and put your trim back on. Go ahead and get this trim off. Make sure that you put trim on the other side. That's going to push everything back about a 1/16 of an inch. Put these on like they would be, and then you can mark your holes from here. Make sure that your latches work, that they close all the way, and that they'll hold the door secure. And finish putting trim back on. Close it back up, make sure everything fits. Now that we've got the door on, we're gonna go ahead and make the base. Just trace out the inside. Cut out your circle. Go ahead and get your base cut out, make sure it fits. Grab your clear silicone. Now that we have the base of the fire extinguisher done, you're going to want to work on the handle. Go ahead and cut off this long metal straw. Cut the straw, break it off, and grind this part down. Take off the hose. Grab your metal wire, measure your metal wire roughly down to the metal bracket. Go ahead and double back. Clamp it down, and then you're just going to want to feed it through the end of the hose. Leave about 1 inch of the end showing. Go ahead and repeat this 3 or 4 times. Once you have several pieces, go ahead and trim your ends. Grab them with a pair of pliers and twist them. Feed this back through. Go ahead and bend this. Start forming your wire. So when you put this back on the fire extinguisher, it's going to hold your hose just like this. I'm actually using some clear silicone just to seal this hole. Once you have the hole sealed, your hose formed, and the pin glued, it's time to put it back in the fire extinguisher. Next, you're going to need your bottle of whiskey, a glass, your Velcro strips, and some super glue. Get your whiskey bottle in there. Go ahead and pick your points of where you want your Velcro strips. Once you get your bottle done, it's time to measure up where you want your glass to be.